everyone! My name is Christopher. I use he, him, and ze, them pronouns. And today, we're going outside. Woo! Yeah, we're cutting grass. And by touching grass, I mean talking about it while inside on a podcast that we're posting on YouTube. So truly we practice what we preach. But today we're talking about the differences between online and offline queer communities, which is better, where we should be aiming to go, advice for the youth. Lots of advice for the youths. But before we get into that, who do I have with me on this couch?
Hello, I am Emma. I use they, she, he pronouns.
Hello, I'm Lorelli. I use they, them pronouns. I'm Lily, and I use any pronouns.
And I already did mine. Oops. Thanks. Great. Well, I am a very good host, and I wrote a lot of notes in my section on the doc.
Mm-hmm.
Wink. So who would like to go first? Do we have any points we want to start with?
We can start with discourse trademark.
Yes.
Discourse
That
TM.
is a good way to start.
Would you like to start with the discourse trademark?
Who wants to talk about discourse?
Number 1, is kink allowed at Pride?
Oh my god!
Number 2,
We should do an episode on that.
we should, and it should just be us yelling the
It
whole
does,
time about how
and Judah
stupid
needs
it
to be
is.
on it.
Number 2, are asexuals real?
Are asexual
Oh,
people
no.
queer? Is it 2011? I don't know.
Number
gosh.
3, can lesbians have he, him pronouns?
Oh,
Oh.
absolutely not. Yeah, says the they,
You're
she,
like,
he,
and
lesbian. Yeah,
We
so
both get sucked into the fire. Like,
yeah,
oh
so you
gosh.
fall into the couch and you're never seen again. But yeah, I guess the general idea is like queer onlineness, or I guess online queerness is probably a better
Mhm.
switcheroo of that. Incites conversations that don't matter, because most people who are like purely on the internet as their form of queer community like very much focus on validity politics and feeling like they need validation from people that they don't see in their real life, because the people they see in their real life suck major balls.
Don't validate them.
Yeah. And then they're like, what if I also became a homophobe,
Jeez.
but online?
In a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm looking at my notes.
And you're like, it just says he, him, question mark,
Question
with the lesbian flag next to it.
Allowed?
You know what, so I guess we could each talk about like our own experiences with like internet discourse or just like general online queerness, because like the he, him, lesbian thing brings to mind. I went to a birthday party when I was like 17 or 18 in high school, and everyone there was gay in their own way. We have like a bisexual, we have 2 trans guys, we've got an asexual and all this stuff. And we were eating birthday cake, and this fucking guy, this trans guy, like one of 2 other trans guys besides myself at my high school, goes, what do you guys think about he, him lesbians? At the dinner table. And I was like,
Not at the dinner table.
We were eating dinner as a family.
we were eating, you will not bring this conversation to the dinner table.
Do not bring up pronouns.
No pronouns at the dinner table. But I was just like so taken aback that he like thought that was a fun topic of conversation for a birthday party. Because he is like, I guess in the olden days we'd call him a trans med, where he was like very I need to, like, everybody needs to like fully medically transition in order to be valid, and you have to want to pass and like not want to tell anyone you're trans or whatever. And you have to be like constantly suffering if you want to call yourself trans.
Mhm.
And he like gave me a recommendation for his hysterectomy doctor when I didn't ask. I was like, cool, I currently have my vagina. I don't need right now to get rid of it, but thanks. I'll keep that in my back pocket in case I ask. But yeah, it was just like a weird, why couldn't we talk about things that are fun or like good or that interest us positively? So yeah, I would say, if first piece of advice for the youth, number 1, don't bring up discourse at birthday parties with other gay people.
Not at the dinner table.
Not at the dinner table. Wait until you get home and you can talk on your little Twitter. And then
Twitter.
delete your Twitter.
Yeah, no, that like kind of goes to like a point that I had in my notes of like, I feel like online you think that
these conversations are gonna come up a lot more than they actually do when you're like in an actual queer space, and it's like, no, we just kind of have fun, like we are.
Ever try
just
having
hang out.
friends?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like we're not sitting around debating like, oh, like, but how gay are you? Like, show me your card. Like that doesn't happen.
See, that's the thing about the internet is I feel like maybe, possibly as a theory, the reason that
It's
so
a gay
it's
theory.
a gay theory.
No.
Mr. Matt Pat himself.
What do you guys
making
think
gay
of
theories.
FNAF?
What? So anyway,
Your
Five Nights
favorite
at
your
Freddy's.
favorite FNAF animatronic is your sexuality, actually.
Actually, that's probably like
What's your favorite? You
the
sound like
most
you have-
solid way of figuring it out.
B for Bonnie, and then there's the other ones.
that guy, the Jack in the Box puppet.
The marionette?
Oh,
The marionette, Emma?
Okay,
Okay, Matt
not
Pat.
a Jack in the
Okay,
Box
Matt Pat.
puppet.
I am the white man in this room, so I guess I can take it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I feel like as a gay theory, perhaps the reason why the whole validity politics keeps showing up on the internet is because you don't actually know if anyone is who they say they are. So it's like this whole well, frankly, it's most of the time it's a turfy it sort of goes back to men invading women's spaces, and then that ends up dissolving into turf ideology. Reaching.
I'm an audio engineer.
So true. It goes into the side of the microphone.
It does.
Yeah, I don't know, just not knowing who, you can't see their face, you don't actually know who they are. So
What if they're a man?
yeah,
Secretly.
what the hell?
And
So
then you're like, what if I shut down a gender clinic because I think that?
Oh, I remember that. I remember that story vaguely. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a general, I feel like it's very Western too, of the general suspicion of other people and their intentions.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably a reach, but all those stories recently of girl rings doorbell of the wrong house, house owner shoots her in the face, or kid accidentally dropped ball onto neighbor's lawn and gets shot in the face. And it's
Yeah.
always you guys are fucking cowards.
Yeah.
Talk to other people and believe them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many more good people than there are nefarious people.
Mhm.
And the nefarious people are always anomalies. They're always exceptions to the rule.
Yes, very
you
much
can't
so.
treat everyone as if they're all gonna backstab you and steal your pronouns. It's not.
Steal your
gosh.
pronouns.
It's
I don't
not.
think anyone wants them.
Yeah, give them back.
They're yours. They're stinky.
They try to steal them and they're like, ew, fuck.
Gross.
They don't
I'm gonna
work in
mail
English
them back.
grammar.
They don't-
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about, not to talk about guns, but that is
I did bring it up. I did bring it up.
Talk about guns on the gay podcast, but
It's a gun theory.
it's a gun theory. Matt Pat, but he isn't BK. Oh, that reminds me of something that my mom would say about the NRA and the ideology about the Second Amendment, in that, well, I'm not gonna actually jump to any conclusions about whether or not we need guns in modern society.
No, keep going, Emma. Actually.
I
takes
just
on the
don't
pod.
actually
Hot
know.
take. We're gonna title this "Emma doesn't believe in the Second Amendment."
Emma thinks
Oh,
that
fuck.
they should take your gun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
clearly, I am the liberal who thinks that all of your guns should be taken away and the government should get to control your every move.
That's true.
So true.
Hashtag blue.
Controversial.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of the ways that guns are marketed to people by, I guess, organizations like the NRA, probably. I don't know. I remember my mom talking about this once. Is instilling fear that somebody's gonna come in and try to kill your family,
Yeah, you
and
need
then
to.
you can shoot them in the face if they try to do that. So buy this gun.
And they're probably
then,
Mexican.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how
no,
many of us
exactly.
are actually having those encounters where we're
Not
actively we have to shoot people to survive? It's not.
It's the
not
Walking
like-
Dead out here, man. We're only safe in this room.
You live in Ohio.
Ohio,
Oh no, the
bro.
corn is gonna knock on the door and ask for some sugar, and it's secretly a man.
No,
In a
I mean,
dress.
And it's, oh no! Trans corn!
Whoa! Corn.
In the last episode, I edited a tripod onto the trans flag as like a gender, I guess.
Wait,
And
why?
yeah, I don't know. I could do that with
Just
corn.
'cause.
Yeah, just because you
Oh,
were
you
like,
can
"What
do
if we
that
put a
with
dinosaur
corn.
on the lesbian flag?" And I'm like, "But what if we
Your
put a
gender is
tripod?"
podcaster.
My gender is white male podcaster. And I'm passing really well. But yeah, I think that there's like this rampant individualism and fear
Oh, yeah.
that is
Mhm.
instilled.
Yeah.
It's like funny because like leftists and like super right wing people, in to a certain extent, not to horseshoe theory myself, but like
Yeah.
we're both afraid of the same thing essentially, which is like a government coming up to us and being like, yoink to your rights and stuff. Except like the rights in question are like the ability to be transgender versus like the ability to be racist. So like it's not a horseshoe after all, but like yeah, it's and the way that you get past that is like creating communities where that care is present and you don't have that fear. And so if like the only thing that we're prioritizing or doing is creating communities online where we're all nitpicking at each other the whole time until we get sad and then like don't and like those things like transmedicalism or like turfism or whatever, like they don't make you feel better. Like you still hate yourself the whole time. It's just like, but I'm a better trans. And it's like, well, yeah, sure, technically by this textbook definition that you invented for yourself. But all the fake transes that you're accusing are having a great time wearing colors and like being themselves. I know, it's wild. But yeah, like I feel like if people just realize that like a better future where they're not policed at their every turn and they can just like exist with other people that respect them, if they knew that future existed or felt that it could, then they would like feel less inclined to like be an asshole to other queer people on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of like I get feeling sometimes like other queer people are a little cringy because like I get it, like it happens. But
We've seen Glee.
I have famously seen Glee.
Famously.
Infamously. But
Infamously.
like at the end of the day, like those are the people who you share an identity with, and I don't think that you're helping anybody by just being mean to them and like making fun of them. Because I see so many people online like piling on to like queer people who are like quote unquote like embarrassing or whatever, but ultimately like what are you doing? Like the only like you're not gonna be more accepted by people who are going to be homophobic or transphobic towards you because you're like quieter about your identity, Like I don't know.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's
I
definitely
totally
something.
get that. I remember like when I always talk about this
Your homophobic
my
era.
homophobic era where there's two separate separate homophobic eras.
Oh,
But
ooh,
there's
we
There's
got two.
there's different volumes.
there's
The
Yeah.
different
return of the
volumes.
homophobe.
The return of the homophobe. But there was the homophobic era where I knew that I was bisexual. I didn't know I was non-binary yet. But I knew I was bisexual, but I was still homophobic because I always was thinking like, oh, but I'm not one like I'm queer, but I'm like a chill queer or
Yeah.
like I'm not
Yeah.
queer like those people are queer. Like I'm homophobic queer and it's like
I hate
and
myself.
yeah,
so,
no, and
I
that was
win.
truly the actual root of it is
Yeah.
that I didn't like myself and that I was homophobic. It was internalized homophobia. And so, yeah, and so like I think there's a lot of people that are still dealing with their internalized homophobia and instead of like reflecting on themselves and realizing that like, oh, the reason why you don't like people that are like really proudly out in themselves is because you can't be that. And so you're projecting that self-hatred onto other people. And of course, like I never was like, oh, you shouldn't be like that or whatever. It was just internal where I was like, oh, I'm like kind of uncomfy around people who are like really like out and like, But like now I'm like, well, that was stupid of me. Like, yeah, now I like people like that because I am like that and I want to be out and proud. And so, but that takes like, that was just years of like homophobic growing up, like having to unlearn what you've already learned.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people dealing with stuff like that, but they're just taking it out like on the internet where they feel this anonymity
Yeah.
I've never been on discourse Twitter when it comes to
Oh my
LGBT.
god.
Like, I'm like, wow, I'm learning so much about discourse Twitter, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's not good.
I know. But if I had been on discourse, if I had been younger and on discourse Twitter, then I definitely probably would have been one of those people. Like I am not one of those queers.
Yeah, and then all the straight
Yeah.
people like like your tweet, and you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
Right. Again,
Yeah.
looking for validity where you don't get it in real life.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
I feel like I really resisted coming out as non-binary for a long time because my example of non-binary people was like a white thin person with like a certain
Yeah.
haircut.
Mm.
No hate to that haircut, I got that haircut too eventually. But like
it happens.
yeah,
Happens
but
to all of
like
us.
I resisted it for a long time because of that, because I was like, oh, like they're so embarrassing, like they all have the same haircut, whatever, but it's like
Yeah.
it's not real.
I will say that that's a big point, that when I was thinking of those queers, I was definitely thinking of upper middle class white
Yeah.
queers. And I was definitely like not just people who are really out and proud, but people who are specifically like in my mind it was upper middle class white people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's because of the stereotype of queer people,
Mhm.
and like those like I'm trying to think of a better word for it, but like people that are very like really into their identity, but realizing that you don't have to be white. Like it's not a white identity, and it's not like an upper middle class identity. And so it took me a while to realize that, because I always thought like, oh, like the reason why I don't relate to queer people is because I'm a person of color. And
Mhm.
as a person of color, I have different values than like white queer people. And
Mhm.
like, but really, it was actually just that I was internally homophobic and I wasn't
Yeah.
comfortable with myself. And I could have found more community with queer people that were not people of color and that were people of color. So, but it like the stereotypes of whiteness and like class makes like a huge difference
Yeah.
inside your like, and I think a lot of discourse comes from that tension, that queerness is a white thing and that it's a class thing as well. And like I think that that's where people like get like, I think it's the tension between those different categories that a lot of discourse ends up coming up.
No,
Yeah.
that's like a really good point.
Yeah, I feel like people don't realize that they have more in common than the queer annoying person than the straight person. Like there's like a set of inherent experiences I feel like, or like general inherent experiences that like queer people have that straight people don't, in the way that like all shared identities have, right? And it's like the person who liked your tweet because you were like, I'm not like those gay people, would like turn on you in like literally an instant and would
Yeah.
group you with that,
Mm.
with those cringe people if they decide one day that you are cringe.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
not like a unique like, well, if I don't dye my hair and I don't use neopronouns, that means I'm safe. Like the goalposts are like always shifting, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, people, oh my god, like there was like a controversy with like Hunter Schafer, like famous trans woman, where she was like she like agreed to a post that was essentially blaming non-binary
Yeah.
people for anti-trans
Oh,
legislation.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, what? Because it's like, you know, if you guys weren't insisting that gender was a social construct and that we didn't need to transition in order to be trans, then they wouldn't be banning gender affirming care. And I'm like, do you think Ron DeSantis is on queer discourse
Yours?
Twitter? Do you think he follows you on Instagram?
Right.
Because I guarantee he doesn't, and I guarantee he'd like shoot every queer person if they on the spot if you told them about it. Like
Right.
Yeah.
it's not, you know, like that was crazy. That was wild to me. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely the people trying to disrupt the patriarchy that are ruining, that are the reason the patriarchy exists.
Right.
It also
Yeah.
like frustrates me when people like queer people go on about how um like, oh, these terms didn't exist like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, it's just because you guys are like super online. But it's like, how do you think change gets made? Like, how do you think new terms are made up, and how do you think new identities are like new labels are created? Like
Literally people
Yeah.
who say neopronouns are made up, and I'm like, wait till
Yeah.
you hear about language.
Everything.
Wait till you hear.
That's crazy. That just reminds me of something that like I'm in like a legal communication class with Kelly.
Shout out to
actually.
Mark Huppin, bro.
Shout out to Mark
Shout out to
Huppin.
Mark
I love
Huppin.
that guy.
Communication.
He's so great. Shout out to communication. True. But I mean, like, basically, like, one of the pieces of the majority of opinion of, I want to say, Obergefell v. Hodges was like, or sorry, a response to the dissent, which was that a fundamental right has to be deeply rooted in history and tradition.
Yeah.
I think, I want to say Kennedy's response to that was then like, okay, well then nobody new can get rights. Like, if you just get to oppress the same people that you were oppressing back when the Constitution was made. And I feel like that just kind of goes to
Yeah, they're like, we didn't know what Mexicans were in
Right,
1976,
exactly.
so you guys don't get rights.
Yeah, so now
And also trans didn't exist.
also
so
trans didn't exist.
that is such a dumb, sorry, Supreme Court. I also took this class. But yeah, the concept of like, if it's not explicitly written by the guys from the 1970s, or this not the 1970s, the
1970s.
I guess Ronald
The
Reagan,
hippies.
the
Not
1770s,
Ronald Reagan.
then it has to be
my
deep
God.
in America's history. And I'm like, you know what else is deep in America's history? A lot
Racism,
of bad
a lot of bad
stuff.
things,
A lot of bad
and,
stuff.
just
Remember
list
the
goes on.
genocides, guys? Remember
Yeah.
that? And also like what makes the 1770s like a more valid piece of history than like the 80s, you know, or like
Yeah.
the 2010s where we realized that it's weird to like make jokes about trans people in comedy specials. Like it's still
Crazy.
America's
Did we
history.
realize
I guess not collectively.
Not
Ricky
everyone.
Gervais is very famous.
We realized it briefly and then we forgot.
We did, yeah. LOL. We're like, Bo Burnham's hermaphrodite joke might have been a little weird. But then they're like, he's dating Phoebe Bridgers, it's fine.
Oh my god!
yeah.
Don't bring that up.
That's the queer discourse we need to be
Good
having.
morning.
Why is
Discourse.
Phoebe Bridgers dating
Oh my
Bo
God.
Burnham?
And Taylor Swift and Matt Mercer.
Not Matt Mercer!
Oh wait, fuck no! Hold on, Matty Ely.
Matt Ely!
Okay,
Taylor
and
Swift and
then-
Matt Mercer would be
Sorry,
in the
that's
same.
my
That
bad.
would
That
be
dude that wears
crazy.
the vest all the time.
Taylor Swift on Critical
Critical
Role.
Role, bro.
I'm dead. That's so funny.
Bro, can you imagine?
Oh my god, yeah, and he's like, what if I did the Hitler salute at every concert?
Oh,
And then white
that's
people...
satire.
It's satire,
that's
especially when a
so
non-Jewish
funny.
person does it. A non-Jewish
God
fucking
damn,
British
bro.
person, lol.
British person.
Anyways, that's not
Matty Ely.
intermission for Matt
contradictory.
Ely. Matt Ely from Not Ely.
Not oh my god. Every time Maddie Healy gets referenced in my apartment, which is not often, but often enough, because my roommate likes making jokes about the 1975 and how they're British.
Uh-huh.
He gets called Matty Ely.
Matty Ely. Yeah, classic British.
Classic.
LOL. Too bad JQ isn't here to do his James accent.
True.
Oh my god. But yeah. So I guess we can pivot from discourse and the internet is terrible.
Discourse.
What are good things that you guys have found from real life queer community? Or
Yeah,
I
true.
mean beneficial from online stuff. Like I found my initial like community in college from like friends online, like Uncle Gay, shout out to Arthur, and like Howdy It's Junebrug, shout out to Juniper, my online queer friends. And like those were two queer people who were like very anti like gatekeeping and like very expressive and like didn't give a fuck about like what other people felt about their identities, and they're like very open and honest about their journeys as queer people and how it's not cool to like be a cop to your fellow queer people. So like I think it's definitely possible to like find good queer role models like online, and it's just like a lot harder, especially when you're young, because like those folks are like 25 and 30. They're like my siblings'
Right.
ages, so like it's weirder or like harder for like a 14-year-old to be like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to this like 25-year-old gay bear when I don't know what
Right.
that means, versus like another 15-year-old who's like could go to my high school and like, you know, sounds like my best friend, and I'm gonna listen to them instead of listening to this person who's obviously like older and wiser.
Right.
It's like when kids learn that like it's weird that a 20-year-old wants to date you when you're 14. Like, at
when
the
they
time-
turn 20 and then they look at a 14-year-old
And then
they're
you're like,
that's
"That's-
a baby child.
Yeah, like
That's
you know,
prison
you don't
time.
realize
That
you're being
though.
groomed until like 10 years later when you're like,
Yeah.
oh fuck, he was a
So
pedophile.
awkward to realize you were groomed.
Yeah, those
So
kick days, bro.
awkward.
So awkward. Oh my god.
See?
But yeah, I would say online queer community can be like a vessel to like expressing yourself in a really
Yeah.
beautiful way, and like finding people who are like-minded in a positive way, and that like-mindedness could even just be like open-mindedness. Like I don't, I have like a little Etsy shop, and like I have a custom pride flag option where like people like I combine people's like identities for them into like a button or whatever. And there's like flags I've never heard of before. And like, when I was 14, I'd probably be like, ew, like what does this weird word mean? And now I'm like, that flag's dope as fuck. I'm glad you're paying me $7 to make this because I'm having fun.
S tier flag.
S tier flag, yeah.
It's still right there.
It's still right there. You can't see it. But yeah, it's like I don't want to downplay too much how like the impact of the internet, although like I said, it's like mostly negative, unfortunately.
No, for sure. Like I'm very much pro touching grass. Like I love it. But
It's my favorite.
one of my like cutest experiences, I think, which is kind of silly, but I think it's really cute. Now I think about it, this just like came up in my mind. When I was like 18, 19, I was in an Overwatch League Discord server. And there was a trans channel for like anybody in the Discord that was trans. And I would go in there sometimes, and I ended up making friends with like a lot of people there. At the time I identified as like cis and bi and stuff. And actually one of the people there, after like talking to them a little bit and hearing about their experience as like a non-binary person, as a trans masc person, one of the people there like gave me a code so that I could buy my first binder. And I thought that was really sweet. And actually like that was like after I got the binder and I tried it on, I was like, yeah,
Fuck.
this is real.
Oopsie. Oopsies. Joined the trans channel in the Overwatch server. Now I'm gay. The butterfly effect, everybody.
Truly.
Yeah.
Overwatch League made me gay.
That's true. Now I have like this, the what's it called? The TikTok song. It's like, I'm already Tracer. It's just all, except that they're all
just hate
trans.
crime to me.
I'm sorry, I'm really
Live
sorry.
on the pod.
Live on the pod, I just fucking murdered Lorelli. Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely like when it comes to the effect of the internet, like I would actually say for me it's been more positive than negative. Because if it wasn't for the internet, I definitely would still be a young Republican homophobe. I would just be an old, aging Republican homophobe. It would have been terrible.
Can you imagine
Because-
Lily with one of those signs? Like,
No, they had like
On
an
the moonwalk?
anti-abortion thing yesterday.
Oh
out there. It
gosh!
was
Yeah,
really
Oh
funny.
my
really?
goodness!
Yeah, I was like, what is this? And then I'm like, oh, they're fetuses. Okay.
I was fighting those people the other day.
I
LOL.
was
Fist fighting on fucking Zoom.
I always tell people about this, but like, there's like this alternative life where I just continued being.
It's like you're
a
playing one of
Repu-
those video games where you like
Yeah.
make a pivotal decision. It's just like
Yeah.
path updated.
Lily will remember this.
I love
I
Life is Strange.
I literally, that's how I envision my life. But I didn't learn about like in high school. Obviously, I was just a product. Oh my gosh!
Sorry.
I was just
Not be Ronnie Radkeying the podcast. That's
No!
so gross. That's so bad. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh!
Continue. I'm so sorry.
No, you're totally okay. I like in high school, obviously you're just like a product of like your parents and like
Mhm.
being super sheltered and like conservative fundamentalist Christian. That was all I knew. And it wasn't until I got like, and then like the news channels, they only play Fox News.
Mm.
So like you don't even learn anything else because it's so biased.
Mm.
And then it wasn't until I finally started going online and then like of all the places, Tumblr, that I actually started learning about social issues and social activism.
The classic.
Yeah, and I was like, and then I was like, wait, shit's fucked up. I'm like, what the fuck?
And I'm gay?
And then,
Whoa.
and I'm gay? No.
Tumblr makes your
I
kids
already,
gay.
I already knew I was gay, but I was one of those gays that was like, oh, like, have you heard of those Christian gays that are like, this is like my cross to bear?
Oh my
And
god.
like, yeah,
my burden.
and then you won't like do anything with it, but you know that you're gay.
Yeah.
So I like had an idea that I was gay, but like, because again, I only like girls growing up. I never even looked at boys. So like,
Yeah, you're
it
like, I've been a
wasn't-
lesbian this whole time.
I
Shit.
was been a lesbian this whole time, but I just figured it was one of those things like, oh, that's like my cross to bear, and I won't. That's getting into deep. That's getting into deep.
Not wait, is that like your
Yeah.
cross to bear? Like you've been nailed to the cross and you have to like fucking drag it around like Jesus did?
Yeah, like kind of
Jesus,
like
that's dramatic.
Yeah, like-
literally.
literally like yeah, like basically like you're gay, but you just can't do anything with it. Like
Yeah.
you understand you're born with it, but you
The
just
sin would be acting on it.
yeah. So like
Oh.
that's like we
You're
were
getting taught.
talking about that, but that's like craziness. But anyway, that was me in like middle school, high school. Like I was just like going through it. And but it wasn't until I got on the internet that I learned like wow, like being a Republican is like shitty. Like and then like social issues are really important and there's a lot of fucked up stuff going on. Where before I was just kind of sheltered in my own little life.
Mhm.
And like and the people around me weren't really helpful. Like in
Your
real
stinky
life.
dad
Yeah, my
wasn't
stinky
helping you figure out
my
that
stinky
being a
dad
Republican was
and
wrong.
my
Stinky pronouns.
completely still my nice but still conservative mother who was still homophobic. So it didn't like nobody around me was like socially active or like, really like well educated on these things to like teach me or like would even bother teaching me. And so, yeah, like if it wasn't for the internet, I would still be in that stinky Republican homophobic era.
Mhm.
And now I'm not. So I'm like, yay, I feel like that's a big win for the internet.
Yeah.
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 One internet, real life, like 45. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Internet W.
Rare internet W.
Rare
But
internet
you know what? Pretty
W.
common internet W. The internet can be good.
It can
Yeah.
do good things.
Because
What about-
sometimes real life people is really messed up around
Yeah,
here.
can you imagine? They're
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Going to UCLA for the first time, I was like, oof. Yeah, it's so funny because my first what's it called? My first interactions with like straight people as a queer person in real life were both like very negative. Like the first one in high school, like I got called like the T slur by one of my like past friends, and I was like, that's a bummer. But you suck, Matt. So if you're watching this,
Oh.
but he also
Dox his ass.
he docks his ass. His name is it's just bleep. But
You
yeah.
actually have to bleep that in
Oopsie, I
editing.
forgot to bleep.
Oopsie, I forgot to fucking bleep out his mailing address. That's
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
But like
Mailbox.
he was like very religious and like Fox News on at the house all the time and stuff. And I like he was on the side of the internet that was like iDubbbz, 4chan, Filthy Frank, not good.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Oh.
like
The most toxic. Of
yeah, the guys who
toxic.
were like, if I say two slurs at once, it cancels out, and I'm a angel.
What the fuck?
But yeah, and then the second time was I came to UCLA, and I knew I was getting gender affirming housing or like gender inclusive housing for like my main like stay at UCLA, but for orientation I was like with men, and I like was wearing pronoun pins because it was like my first opportunity to like wear pronoun pins really and feel comfortable with it. Because I like just figured out I used like ZZM and stuff. And this fucking guy was like on a dating app and like talking to himself and he was like, haha, a T slur. And I was like, ooh,
Whoa.
So I like stealthily removed my pronoun pins and I was like, oh yeah, bro, like shit. You're so right. I hate women. I hate women.
Oh my god.
Yeah, stealth
You just
mode.
dropped like 3 more slurs.
Yeah, and I'm like, I know those also.
I can say this too.
I can say those, and he doesn't know I'm reclaiming them.
Whoa.
But yeah, like my real first initial, like if your initial real life experiences with like expressing your queerness are like that, then you're like, I'm gonna go back in my hole and I'm never gonna come out again because I don't want to die. But like, yeah, I think that's like a testament to like people sometimes put too much positive on touching grass because like the whole chronically online phenomenon now, which is like people on TikTok calling anyone with an opinion chronically online. They're like, oh, you think disabled people deserve to go outside?
Are
That's
they
pretty
really?
chronically online. Not that
What
They're
in the
shaking
world?
the building.
That's so real.
in case this isn't the recording, a rave just began
Apparently.
at 6:54 p.m.
Kirk
on a
off
fucking
moment.
Thirsty
Yeah.
Thursday in a school building.
Oh.
But yeah, do
That's
you
the
have
color
any?
party.
Yeah, I apologize if the fucking camera's just now going like this.
That would be funny.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it
video
starts. We start doing like
watchers.
the what's it called, the SpongeBob jellyfish dance. It's like do do do
Oh.
do.
This is
do,
SpongeBob
do, 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 do.
jellyfish
It
dance
is.
music.
That's a little
Yeah.
fire to know.
I think they realize this is Kirk off and not like.
Yeah, they're like, oh fuck, I
And
thought this
not-
was Delta 5.
Yeah.
Shit.
Whichever.
I was wondering why there were people in fucking teachers' outfits in here.
Teachers outfits.
Teachers' outfits? I was like, what's an occupation that people do when they go to UCLA? Teachers. Just fucking middle school teachers. Just in there. Excuse me, Mr. Johnson. But yeah, what do you have any positive online experiences you want to share, Emma?
It's funny because I'm thinking about it and I'm like listening to you guys talk about your online queer experiences, and my online queer experience was like not actually interacting with people, just like, okay, this is so silly of me. I looked at screenshots of Tumblr posts on Pinterest.
Oh yeah.
Because Tumblr itself confused me a lot and I didn't understand the user interface, so I was like, I'm not doing that.
That's very real.
So I looked at screenshots of Tumblr posts on Instagram and Pinterest. And my parents are both like liberals. So I would like debate I would like no, like they're like fine actually. I think my mom doesn't really understand what non-binary is. And
That's
do
alright.
Do any parents?
sometimes
Does
it's
anyone?
so I didn't understand what non-binary was like
A day ago.
however many
like
days
yesterday.
ago.
I still
like
don't
6 years
understand.
ago I was like, okay, I don't understand this.
Not again. Jesus
They're
Christ.
going crazy.
It's gonna
up
be just
here.
like buzzing on the, I apologize.
Yeah. So I can't really say that I ever had queer discourse on the internet. But I can say, however, that actually I was part of
Sorry,
the
it's making me laugh.
there was a GSA at my school, my high school. And it technically existed, but it was bad. And then it got disbanded because nobody was going to meetings or whatever. And then there was like a new one. And I think I'm technically considered one of the founders, even though I didn't go to the meetings. I just helped them like come up with like a little like packet of like queer terms. And I just like went
That's
on like
cute.
the GLAD dictionary and then like
Copy pasted.
yeah, pretty much. Or like wrote them in like if some of the words were like a little too confusing, then I changed them. So
Whoa.
yeah,
Copy
whoa.
editor core.
I know,
New
literally.
copy chief core.
Crazy. That was like first experience, but like everyone was really shy and introverted, and I was also really shy and introverted, so it didn't really click very well. So I would say that low-key OutWrite was probably my first like IRL queer community experience, and it is good.
That was a very intense pause.
I know.
Wow.
It is
Pause.
good.
The vibes are off, guys.
You're like, get me out of here quick.
No, but it like I don't know. It like I feel like
Now you have to be careful. You're like,
I
you're
know.
fucking
I'm
bounce on your
trying
words.
to think of what exactly I was gonna say about it because I definitely did have something in my notes, but I don't think I wrote it down.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I get what you mean though. I think
Because, I don't know,
OutWrite was
it's
my
just
my
so
same
different.
first.
Yeah.
Same for me.
Same.
Yeah,
It
crazy.
was like the GSA at my high school. I was in like a shitty abusive relationship at the time, so it was like
Ooh.
this extra sucks because you're here. But like it sucked in the first place because it was like just a bunch of theater kids that I didn't know, and I was like, well,
Not the theater kids.
peace, see ya.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was also in that time where I was like, why is everyone being so cringy?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm a transgender man with no space. And, you know, that's how they fucking do it when they're edgy. They're like trans man with no space because that's how TERFs write it. Anyways,
Is that a thing?
it
Oh,
is, yeah, like
wow.
transes, TERFs. TERFs will write trans
The
man.
transgenders.
Yeah, the transgenders. TERFs will write trans man and trans woman without a space. So that instead of it being an adjective, it's like a whole new
Oh.
identity that's separate from manhood or womanhood.
Oh.
And then some people just like use it by accident. And I'm like, don't do that. It's not one word. It's not. It's two.
Oh,
It's
That
an
is actually
adjective.
Good to
That's
know.
good to
Yeah,
know.
good to know in case you're accidentally dog whistling everywhere.
Yeah.
We learn something new every day.
Turf era.
Turf era. And you know what? You'd be learning that fact on the internet. To internet,
Whoa.
the rest of the world, whatever number, probably higher. But yeah, I think it's funny. I wish GSAs were like more consistently good,
Yeah.
and not just like whatever people are interested in at the time is like what it's about, instead of it being like a queer safe space. Because like when I look at like the LGBT center at UCLA, like that's just a space where gay people can sit.
Love that.
And that's nice. And then they have like events and stuff where you can go and be gay with other people doing
Mhm.
activities. But like a GSA in high school is like the president is like, let's go around and say our labels or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
let's, let's.
What's your favorite ship?
What's your favorite AO3 fic?
Oh.
Like, it's very like, like cringe coded queerness because the only thing, like, this is the only opportunity that these people have to meet outside of the internet, so they
Oh,
like bring
yeah.
all their internet stuff to real life.
Yeah.
And like, love your ships or whatever. Hanagram's great. I get
Stop!
it, but like,
Targeted.
sorry, sorry. Lorella's having flashbacks. But like, yeah, it's like, I wish there was like I don't know, like every GSA had like an elder queer that was like, okay, kids, let's settle down and learn some queer
Talk
history.
about something real.
Yeah, let's
For a
talk about,
second.
yeah. And also, I feel like one thing too we haven't mentioned is like, along with internalized homophobia and stuff, is people react this way or like have shitty opinions or like, default to validity politics because they don't want to deal with things that they can't change, like anti-trans legislation or like homophobic parents and stuff. Because like when when people say like, why are we talking about discourse, like people are dying, like, yeah, people are dying, but like I don't have any control over that, and like this is a thing that I have control over.
Yeah.
And then maybe if I have control over one aspect of my life or one other queer person, then like everything's gonna be okay, when it really should be, I should be latching on to other queer people and finding community with them, because that's what's gonna make everything okay, is like building that community rather than defaulting to tearing everybody down because that's what you see in the rest of the world and you're trying to make your own bubble that way.
It's so true.
But yeah.
I think, okay, that's the thing about OutWrite, is like actually having and feeling community and camaraderie with other queer people. And that's the thing about, I want to say, IRL queer spaces as opposed to online ones, is you actually have this set of people that you see regularly and you see their faces and you get to, and that's, well, I was gonna say, and you get to, you can talk about, like, I feel like the thing for me about offline queer spaces is that like I get to see how other people interact with and define or don't define their own queerness, and that like gave me a lot of ideas about my own queerness and how I want to position myself in relation to it, if that makes sense, or where I want it to exist in me. And now we're getting very philosophical, but stuff like that. And I feel like the thing about GSAs, it might have actually, I want to say my GSA was actually founded by a teacher or maybe guidance counselor who was straight and a very nice lady, but it was just like a little awkward, like there was not an elder queer, there was just like some like nice lady who had good intentions, and that's good, but it's not, it is not a queer person. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel like also GSAs are bad because like, well, not bad.
GSAs suck. Fuck your gay straight alliance. If you're gay and you have a club, close it down.
Shut it off. Shut it down. Is that like, I don't know, I feel like queer kids in particular get hooked on identity politics a lot because they're trying to figure themselves out and they are learning all of these new labels and they're like, wow, that one's cool.
And then someone's like, no, you're a fucking loser, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'll die.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel
Thanks.
like it's like so hard to like figure out your own identity when you've got nothing to go off of. You can hear,
and
all
there's
these
no one
terms.
else is established either, so
Exactly.
you're like all
Yeah.
a cesspool.
No, it's very weird. And I feel like that's the thing about like seeing other people be queer in real life and being like, wow, this is just a thing that you can do and you don't have to think about it that much. It was is a big thing about internet versus offline.
Yeah, one of the coolest things to me about like being in actual queer spaces, like with real people, is that
the meat space, as they say. Every gay space is a meat space. If you know what I mean.
What is a meat space?
It's like,
someone meet.
Someone made like, because people were like, oh well, the internet is still real life, so saying like in real life is weird. We should say like physical space or meat space.
I guess.
Meat space?
Yeah, because like
Meat, because like humans are meat. It's
What?
really
No.
because humans are like meat, as opposed to like
I was
digital.
hoping it was
Okay.
meat, MEET.
No,
That's
literal
funny, though.
meat.
That's
But
kind of
meat,
gross.
MEET, probably also
I
makes
don't
sense.
Yeah.
like to think of myself as a meat bag.
That person
As-
has watched Hannibal 80 times. LOL. Anyways, continue, Lorelli.
It always comes back to Hannibal, huh?
Mm.
It does.
What was I saying? Yeah, no, in like actual queer spaces, you see how people maybe like identify with a certain label but present differently than maybe you see online typically, or they just don't identify strongly with like any label and they're just kind of vibing and it's fine, nobody like comes out and just like freaks out on them, like it's normal. It's just what the actual real life experience is like. So I feel like that was really comforting because I think it is really easy to get stuck on like, well, like if I do this, then I won't be this label anymore. But it's like in
You can
real life,
literally do whatever you want.
nobody's keeping track. Like you're
Nobody's
fine.
keeping track.
It's true.
So
As the
true.
editor-in-chief, one of my roles is to write down the identities of every single person in OutWrite and then check them off if they do something wrong. I'm like,
Oh,
they
true.
said the word man. Put
Yeah,
a little
strikes and you're
X
out.
next to their lesbian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like so many of my own ideas about queerness or just like conceptions about gender and sexuality in general have been like exploded from OutWrite. Like my friend
Oh, yeah.
one of my
100%.
very first trans friends in college, I like didn't realize he was trans. I was like, oh, this cis gay guy is at the OutWrite meeting. That's cool. And then he like stayed for the trans club meeting afterwards, and I was like, AMAB non-binary man. And then he talked about having a binder, and I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. And then I was like, now I don't assume or try to assume people's like assigned genders, because like why should I be doing that in the first place? Like I shouldn't guess. You can just be like, oh, so like what's your deal, like in a not like that, but you know what I mean. Like
What are you?
So what are you? Yeah, but like if you're in a trans club together, then you can be like, you can ask those questions in like more good faith than if I was like seeing you on the street and I'm like, do you have
Yeah.
boobs?
On Bruin Walk.
Yeah, on Bruin Walk.
Boobs.
Boobs or
On
dick?
Bruin Walk.
Boobs or dick?
Damn.
Yeah.
New like street interviewer. They just give you the microphone. They're like,
Boobs or dick?
See what the fuck
And
you
it's
say.
me. It's me.
It's Chris.
But yeah, like not assuming like those things about other people and being like, damn, that's crazy. Or like, wow, that person uses labels that don't make sense to me. And it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I didn't explode on the spot.
That's
and now
crazy.
I can say that I'm genderless and also a man. What are you gonna do about it? Literally,
Truly,
what are
at
you
the
gonna
end
do?
of the day, like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, when people say like you can't be a lesbian and use he him, and I'm like, watch me. I'm doing it right. I mean, I'm not a lesbian, but hypothetical Chris lesbian. Watch me do
Chris
it.
lesbian
There's
arc.
nothing you can do. My lesbian arc, yeah.
And that's your
literally think
alternate
that
universe.
Every time I do something that would be like an internet no, I'm all like, what are they gonna do? Block me?
Yeah.
Blocked in
Blocked
real
and
life.
Blocked in
reported.
real life.
It's like that Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's literally nothing you can do to control other people. You can only control your attitudes towards them. And if your attitudes are, oh, that's cool, I've learned something new, you're probably going to feel better than if it's, oh, I hate this person, they're like antithetical to the queer experience, because they're not. They're just as much of a part of the queer experience as you are. They just do it differently.
Yeah.
No.
No, and that's the other thing about the internet that I actually did put in my notes is that like
That
or
document
actually
slays.
that document slays. Actually, I don't think I put it in the notes. I think I talked I talked about it with Lorelli and Lily right before this. But oh my god, what was it?
Oh my god!
I prefaced it for too long.
That's really
Shit,
funny.
what were we talking about before this?
What did we talk about?
About like
wait.
you're just as much a part of the queer experience as other people are.
Yes, I remember. It's like I think the thing about the internet is like, to quote my article from the winter print, like the
Hashtag
like
ad.
yeah, literally, you can read it over the summer at some point.
Yeah,
Yes.
probably.
Send us
Crazy.
$50.
Send us $50 and we'll send you the ripped out article from the print.
Yeah, that's good.
Just
Yeah.
that one.
Just that one. None of the other ones. Get fucked.
I'll do a little.
Ooh, yeah, true. Advertisement. But the thing about the internet is, it's weird trying to have a community because you're trying to homogenize all of the. There it is.
So there it is.
Ooh, there it is. Very swag. You're like trying to homogenize or like connect all of these different people across.
Hope you read it in
so
that time.
Good luck.
There you
Press
go.
pause to read and then come back to us later. Yeah, but I think the thing about the internet is like, or like trying to build a community on the internet is that like, it's everybody. Anyone can be on the internet. So you're trying to like find commonalities with all these people who are so very like trying to group all these different people into like one little bundle and put them all in one space when they're like not in one space in reality. And so they come from like different places, they have different relationships to their queerness, they have different, I mean, like different ways of speaking. Even if you are an English speaker, you can like talk to somebody else from a different country who also speaks English, and you're not going to be like speaking the same language, really, or like just like everything. It's like so, I don't know. I'm going to say different again, and I feel like I've said that word too many times, but like you're trying to like homogenize all of these people into one group, and it doesn't always work very well because some people are going to clash, and then that clash becomes a whole thing because you're
a Twitter
in
thread.
the same space. Yeah, a Twitter thread. There it is.
And then somebody gets doxxed.
Somebody gets
And
doxxed.
someone gets swatted.
Oh,
No,
Jesus. Not swatting. We do not
we
condone.
don't do that.
Don't do that.
No.
That's so bad.
It's so bad. We talk
Not
about
only
that.
are you working with the cops,
Imagine getting
Oh my
swatted
God,
in the
true.
OutWrite office.
Oh,
That would be
there's no
so-
windows.
they have to
There's
get-
one door.
they have to get the code.
They do have to.
They're
get
like,
the code.
excuse me, Jose, what's the code to
And
the
then it
back
takes
door?
We just
6
hear them,
months
like,
to get back to them.
And then they're like, damn, the terrorism's already happened. Fuck.
Crazy.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yes.
Yeah, swatting bad.
Swatting bad.
Swatting
Doxing
bad,
bad too.
Doxing and swatting bad. Don't
They're
do that.
crazy.
Yeah.
Don't do that,
Other
please.
internet things that were invented by fucking losers.
Oh
Don't
my
do
God.
that.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
do
weird.
that.
Yeah.
Crazy how people invent things just to hurt other people.
They're like, what? Like, whose idea was that? They're like, this would be a fucking boss prank. This would be boss as
God.
fuck.
Let's call the FBI.
Let's call the FBI on this
The-
gay.
on this
On
gay.
this
on
gay.
this gay. On this gay doing a Twitch stream.
No.
Yeah, literally. Oh my god, I saw this clip of Chandler Riggs, who plays Carl in The Walking
Not
Dead.
Chandler Riggs.
And he was streaming, and he's like, "Who ordered me Taco Bell?" And he was like holding a Taco Bell bag, and the comments were like, "Well, at least they didn't swat you, because
Yeah.
they definitely could have."
That's
Apparently,
the good
some
ending to that story.
people do that. They'll like order food to the house to like
Yeah.
ensure that they got the address right, and then they'll do it.
That's
So if you get
scary.
mysterious food, ask your family if they've done something nice for you, and then call the cops.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But yeah. Anyways, swatting tangent.
Chandler Riggs tangent.
Chandler Riggs. Shout out to
Riggs
Chandler
tangent.
Riggs. Fuck Scott Gimple. We've
Love that
we've
guy.
all done this before. But yeah. Other comments about what other things do we have on our slick notes doc?
Slick and super cool. Mine doesn't have bullet points, so it's just a block of
Not
text.
just paragraphs.
I know it is.
Emma's a copy editor.
Yeah. Oh. Actually, I don't know if I want to quote this post because I only vaguely remember it.
I don't have to find it. We can just pretend it says what you're saying.
That's so true.
That's
saw
another thing about
something-
the internet. Lying.
Lying.
You
Love
can
that.
edit other people's
Crazy.
posts.
Whoa.
It's just your own post if you get it wrong enough.
Oh,
That John Green Tumblr post.
Which one?
Which one?
You haven't seen
Totally.
it?
I know what
That's
you're talking
so
about,
vague.
Riley.
Doesn't he post a lot on Tumblr?
Love that.
Wait, what are y'all
No,
talking
it's
about
it's
over
like
there?
it's like the reason that Tumblr took away the edit post function because before you
Oh, that
could-
was a thing?
yeah. Before
Oh, did he like edit it to make it look different than what it
No,
was?
someone edited him,
somebody
maybe.
edited his post
Oh.
to say like very very not
But something he did not say.
very
Oh,
not good
Jesus
things.
Christ.
Yeah.
What a
The
what a
fact
s-
that they even had that function in the
Oh,
is
wow,
so
I didn't
funny.
even know that. That's
Funny.
dumb.
Wow.
You could just edit it and make it look like someone else said something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty.
They're like, we need to test out deep fakes, but in a really manual way.
Yeah, they had it for years.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was
That's so
crazy.
interesting. What's the purpose of that?
I don't know what the point of it
Yeah, they're like, we
Yeah.
meant to add an
Tumblr
edit
2011
feature. And
was
then...
a lawless land.
Yeah.
It was so long.
Imagine being fucking 10 and on Tumblr. That's crazy.
Whoa.
What were you gonna say?
10 on the internet. I don't know. It's
What
not
Tumblr
actually
post are you
relevant,
gonna
so I
misquote?
don't- what Tumblr post am I going to misquote? It was something, they used the word neoliberalism and I don't know what that means.
It's like
it's
like
capitalism.
it's
It's
like
like the
liberals
individual-
who think that they're like superior, like they're doing the right thing, and then they're just like capitalists rebranded.
Neoliberalism is like about individualism and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Interesting.
individualism and capitalism.
Yeah, like choice
Yeah.
feminism type stuff. And then like maybe like that one time when the Florida Senate or one of the Senates did like the cha-cha slide after they passed like anti-trans legislation or something.
What?
They did that?
Recently, yeah, they were like
Oh.
slide to the left or like the Cupid shuffle or something.
I think it was
Why did they do
shuffle.
that?
I don't know. It was like a little thing that legislators like to do, on the Saturday evenings.
Sure.
But yeah.
Little dance party.
Well, now that you know what neoliberalism means, do you want to read it?
Oh, I didn't actually read it. I didn't actually like try to quote it from memory. Anyways, I'm not gonna stop talking.
LOL.
It was something about how like the neoliberalist idea that like visibility is always a good thing, and
Oh, yeah.
like okay, yeah. Have
Yeah.
you seen? Said
No, I
post?
just know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't. So maybe you can elucidate. But it's like about like neoliberalist idea that like visibility is always
It's so neoliberalist.
Yeah, look it over there.
Neoliberalism is contemporary use to refer to market-oriented reform policies, eliminating price
Oh, like
control,
we can reform
deregulating
capitalism.
capitalist
Oh.
markets, lowering trade barriers, and reducing, especially through privatization and austerity, state influence in the economy. I thought neoliberalisms were like libertarians.
No, libertarians are like no laws. They're like I can say the N-word and not pay taxes.
But neoliberalism.
Get
I
your
don't
man
think
who can do it.
neoliberalisms are liberals. I'm like
Well, the thing is, it's
confused.
like it's like a liberal view to capitalism where they're like we can do like we can free ourselves through the free market.
I can fix him.
Yeah, essentially.
fix
It's
him.
neoliberalism.
It's
I can
ideas
fix him.
through free market capitalism.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a rising conservative and right libertarian organizations.
Okay, so it's like infiltrating liberalism, I guess.
It's
They put
like,
neo before stuff to just say worse. They're
Neo-
just like neo-Nazis, the worst new ones. Like
no bad ones who are new now.
Yeah.
but yeah, what you were
know.
talking about with like the neoliberalist idea that
I had to write about neoliberalism a lot in anthropology.
Yeah,
so-
getting that degree, baby, Bachelor of Arts.
I had to Google it.
That's okay. It happens to the best of us.
3 weeks from
Really does.
graduating.
Yeah. But yeah, like that idea that like visibility is good at all costs. It's like the idea that like coming out is like the best thing you can do as a
Right.
queer person. Like
Yeah.
that's the ultimate act of defiance is to like be out and proud. And people are like, I saw this post today that was like, I wondered why I don't wear pride merch. And then I remembered 10 years ago, my friend wore a shirt that said, people don't know I'm a lesbian. And then she got hit in the head with a brick.
Oh.
So like, that's why.
Yeah.
And like, I would say honestly, like just existing as a queer person is like a punch in the face to like the cis heteropatriarchy or whatever. But like saying you like must be out and proud in order to like contribute to conversations in the community or to have an opinion or to like participate in, mutual aid or community or whatever. Like you have to be as on the nose as you can and like super hyper visible in your labels and like have everything nailed down. Like that's also a very individualistic view because like
right.
as we said, like you find all the nuances of your identity by interacting with other people who also share those nuances. So like if we, put say lesbian as like this one stark definition that is immalleable, like it ultimately harms more people than it helps because like only certain people are going to fit that exact view. And like how can we build a community around something that like is trying to put too strict of a label on like a group of millions of people? Like there's no point to it.
Yeah.
And also like especially for like trans people, like the common thing about like Trans Day of Visibility is like visibility without protection is just like basically putting a target on everyone's
Yeah.
back where it's like I'm trans and then they're like wonderful, I can't wait what I'm gonna do with this information, and like
hands together evilly.
yeah, some
That's
people
so-
have I have the privilege to be out and like stuff like that, and I like live in Los Angeles and I'll probably be fine if I like tell someone that I'm trans, but like other people, like they're not less queer because they don't post on Trans Day of Visibility because they don't want to
That's so
like die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's like really important to recognize your own privilege because it's like, as a person who like grew up in California, Southern California in LA, and who is gonna stay there, like I have a very different experience being visible than somebody who's like in Missouri,
Yeah.
and I think that's something that you really have to think about, but you also have to like assume some responsibility if you're in a safe place and if it's something you can do, like maybe not look at it so much as like, oh, but it's like cringy to be out so much, like I don't need to do all that, but like
Yeah.
do it for the people who can, I think is something
Or at least, like, shut the fuck up for the people who can,
Yeah,
you know? Like, you
yeah,
don't have
like,
to
don't
like it, I don't care.
don't
Like
demand it from those people, but like also if you're out here and you're like in those places, like maybe you should also be a little more proactive and engage with like your community as much as you can.
yeah, it's like it's funny, like, the conversations devolve when you have more privilege. They're like, "Oh, well, I don't have to worry about my material safety, so I'm, like, debating what lesbians are the best," you know, or, like, which
Yeah.
ones are the
Right.
most valid. And it's like or the people that you just said, like, oh my god, I'll see TikToks that are like, "Oh my god, it's so cringe that my parents bought me rainbow stuff for Christmas." And I'm
Aw.
like, it's like that meme that's like, "I dropped my diamond earring in the ocean." And then she's like, "Kim, people
There
are dying."
dying.
And it's like, you know, you don't have to be grateful for every single thing anybody does for you ever, but like, I feel like your reaction should, you contextualize your reactions to like your place in the world and like
Yeah.
you getting Pride merch or like seeing a cringy, like the fact that you can see the cringy t-shirt at Target is a privilege.
Yeah.
Like right now, Target's taking the Pride collections away from southern states because employees are being threatened because
Yeah.
there's Pride stuff in
Did not
Target.
know
So
that.
like,
Yep.
yeah, that's like
Yeah.
just happened.
Mhm.
So it's like, and like, oh, is Target should probably just hire security. I don't know why they're taking it away, but anyways, like it's like we, especially like people who live in LA, are like in this microcosm of where we think everything is better, and then we go online and we see other people in that microcosm being shitty, and it's like, why don't we use the fact that we live in like a very safe place to, like Lorelli said, like be that voice for people who don't have it, or be that positive online role model, so that when those people find those real communities later, they know that it wasn't like in vain to exist like in this way, or to like have that transition period online. Like, you know, there is hope at the end of the tunnel, and like, you know, a lot of queer kids and trans kids, like, you know, self-harm and commit suicide because they're like, this is it, like this is the only thing that I'm going to be able to have. And like, if we can use the internet as a tool to convince people that there is a future that you just need to get to, and then you'll be okay, like we're fighting for that for you, like you don't even have to do anything, you just have to continue to exist like that, then that's how we should be using the internet. It shouldn't be like we're gonna bar people from these identities because we don't think they're worthy, because in the end, we're not worthy of making that decision, because we're all individuals with our own brains and consciousness.
Whoa.
So it's important. Anyways, yeah, that was deep as fuck.
That
was so deep,
fuck.
bro.
I was about
That's
to
so
start-
deep, bro. Me taking what Lorelli said and then saying it again. Classic white man move. But yeah, we're coming in at an hour. Do you guys have any last thoughts
Final
about
hot
IRL online communities? Do we have any kink at Pride?
God.
Get pride.
Get pride.
Let's discuss.
Let's
Where are your
answer the questions.
where are your fucking titty tassels? I don't care. I don't care.
Let's answer the questions that we asked at the beginning of the
Yeah,
episode.
sure. Kink at Pride? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
He him lesbians?
Yep.
Yeah, whatever.
Cool.
I
What
think
was the
that
third? There was another one.
there's another one. Fuck.
I think it was asexuals.
Oh, asexuals.
Oh, asexuals?
Yeah, fuck you guys. You suck so
No.
bad. Boo!
I'm
Two
dead.
thumbs down. Yeah, obviously. Ace people are queer, obviously. But yeah. If you're wondering where we stand, we're being liberals. Sorry.
Liberals today.
Yeah,
Liberals with a
the
capital
queerest
L.
a queerest opinion you can take is that every single person is their own person, and the way that they use words is the way that they use words, and you can use your words however you want to use them.
It's crazy.
And
And
if
your
you
words to not hurt and belittle other people. That's crazy.
yeah, having compassion
cool.
might be the best thing.
Oh
That's
shit.
crazy.
Hot take.
It might actually
be
make
nice.
you feel better in addition to making the other person feel better. which is
Yeah, and you know what
crazy.
happens when you compliment someone? They usually compliment you back. So if you
That's
need
so
that,
good.
you know,
Shit.
you say nice
Mind-blowing
fucking
info.
flag. Hell yeah, yours is nice too, baby.
Literally.
Nice. But yeah, with that, I guess. You can follow OutWrite on Instagram, TikTok. You guys have to do the heart hands while I do this. I don't know why you're not
Okay.
jumping
Oh, shit.
to
Okay, yeah.
formation. You can follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at OutWrite Newsmag. You can read our bi-weekly plus articles on our website, outrightnewsmag.org. That's right, spelled
Oh.
WRITE. I have been Christopher.
I've been Emma. We're focusing too hard on the part hands.
It's very
Your turn.
intense.
I've been Lorelli.
And I've been Lily.
And thank you for listening to the Speak Out podcast. Speak out in your own communities and don't be mean about it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.